Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. More than 300 University of Vermont students recently shared their undergraduate research projects with the UVM community and the general public. The Student Research Conference was the forum to showcase research projects in fields ranging from arts and agriculture to medicine and marine life. UVM provides financial support to students for research, and all the student work is done with faculty supervision. Students like Rachel Elliott focused their research on topics that impact Vermont.
I'm looking at access to healthy soil in Burlington, trying to figure out if all residents in Burlington have equitable access to healthy soil that they can grow food in.
What does equitable access mean?
That means that anyone, regardless of race, class, whatever identities they may have, they have access to soil that can meet their needs. And I don't want to say equal access because not everyone has the same needs. You know, people who are only looking to grow flowers have really different needs than people who are looking to feed their families with the crops that they grow.
And how did you conduct this research? Soil tests?
Yeah, so I went to 15 different community gardens and tested the soil for nutrients, for organic material, for heavy metals, and I also looked at the biological communities in the soil.
How does your research benefit Vermonters? What are people going to take away from this?
It's very Burlington specific, so I think there is a lot to learn in Vermont broadly, but like talking specifically about Burlington communities, every garden that I sampled from is getting all of my data. They're getting all of the nutrient testing, all of the heavy metals, all of that, and I'm explaining what all of it means. So that's stuff that can be used directly to impact how they garden in the future. But also, you know, my research suggests that access is not equitable, that not everyone is able to get access to the soil that they need, which obviously needs to be dealt with because people need access to land. You know, it's protected by the new environmental justice policy in Vermont. And so there are kind of two directions to go with that. One, I'm hoping that with this information, people will be able to better advocate for themselves because they know what they're missing and they know what they deserve. And I'm also giving my data to the city of Burlington. Someone from the city is on my thesis committee, so she'll be there. Megan O'Daniel will be there, hearing everything. She's reading over everything. And I'm hoping that the city will use my data and use my study to influence how they manage gardens in the future as well. For example, there are some gardens where the levels of aluminum in the soil are pretty high, and aluminum can be toxic to plants. And that's really directly, or I guess inversely related to acidity, meaning that when the soil is more acidic, it's going to pull more aluminum out of the soil. So if you know that, you can put things like lime in the soil, bring the acidity down, and then the amount of aluminum in the soil that's going to impact your plants, there's still going to be aluminum, but it's not going to be available.
Right.
So you can immediately fix that issue.
Right. Talk about what you've learned about yourself doing this research and going through this process.
Biggest takeaway is I don't think I want to do research like this again. It was really interesting. I did learn a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the topic. But I think my passion is more out in the streets talking with people and being more on the receiving side of this information. So hopefully in the future I'll be the one receiving reports like this and going and making the changes that need to happen. So that was a big thing. Also learned I really need to work on time management. That came up a lot as an issue. But yeah, it was just having a better sense of what I want to do moving forward, I think was my biggest takeaway.
No research is done in a vacuum. You had help from faculty advisors. Who were some of the advisors you worked with and how did they help you?
Yeah, so Deb Neer was my primary faculty advisor. She's the soil ecology professor here. I could not have done any of this without her. You know, she, from the very basics.
I was thinking you might want to just make stuff and then actually run it tomorrow.
Showing me how to do things in the lab, to helping me formulate my question. She was the professor in the class that I took that got me interested in this topic. Her husband, Tom, is the safety officer of the lab I worked in. He was there the whole time, teaching me lab techniques, helping me understand the data, teaching me everything that I needed to know on the practical side to get things done, and just being a second pair of eyes on everything. Bindu Panikar is my secondary advisor. She's the professor of environmental justice here. And again, like, my thesis includes environmental justice stuff. Being in her class helped give me the idea to do this research. And again, she's been there the whole time, helping me formulate questions, pointing me towards sources.
And this research is outside of your school work.
Yeah.
Right? So this is something you did in addition to being a full-time student.
Yes.
And, you know, having a life and all this other stuff. So this is a big part. You're gonna have a lot of time on your hands.
Yes, I know. Finally have some free time to catch up on sleep and reading and hang out with my friends instead of sitting in the lab.
Across the Fence congratulates Rachel and the hundreds of other UVM undergraduates who present their work at the Student Research Conference. We'll feature more student research in upcoming programs. At colleges and universities around the country, there are MBA programs for future business leaders and entrepreneurs. At UVM, the MBA program is for students who believe business can and must become a force for good. In this piece from our archives, Rebecca Gollin takes a look at the program.
This may look like just any classroom, but what these students are learning is anything but business as usual.
Can business solve some of the most difficult problems that humanity faces by being creative and thoughtful and innovative?
Program director Joe Fusco spends a lot of time thinking about how to make the business world better.
The problems that we have in the next 50 years of human society look very different than the problems we've had over the last 50 years. So we can't approach business, we can't approach the way we manage and create businesses the same way in the future that we have in the past.
These students are part of the Sustainable Innovation Masters in Business Administration program at the University of Vermont's Grossman School of Business. It's a one-year program that incorporates learning traditional business skills like finances and operations within a larger framework of environmental and social responsibility.
So you start off with the idea, then you build this into your first product, and then you say, well, how would this first product actually build to a second product, a third product? How would it go into a more, not only environmentally and socially sustainable business, but a financially sustainable business as well?
Eric Munson is one of the professors in the program. In his class, students work in groups to come up with a sustainable business model.
Well, this course is getting their feet wet, probably not only their feet, but their knees, their hips, the whole body wet really quickly. Instead of waiting till the end of the program to throw them into an integrative course where you pull together all the skills, we decided it was important, and the students early on thought it was important that they get exposed to entrepreneurship as early as possible.
On this day, the students are presenting those models to their classmates and the public.
Our business is Microsun, and it's basically a small solar kit for people who can't afford to get the full solar array that's sold for houses and homeowners and businesses.
And that's enough to power your TV, 2 laptops, charge your cell phone.
Noelle Nierenda and her group created a business model for a new kind of solar company. Each of the team members brought different skills to the project. For Nierenda, who had a career as a mechanical engineer before coming back to school, working in a team setting was itself part of the learning process.
It was more back and forth, more iterations, and not just within our group and our team, but also we had to do customer interviews, we had to research competitors in the field. So it was a lot more involved, and I really felt like I did learn a lot, though, just from the process of it. And just to realize that, there isn't just one way to solve a problem.
Nierenda was drawn to the program for its emphasis on solving those real-world problems.
I just felt like for development-wise and for improving living standards, there's only so much that being in the engineering field can do, but the biggest impact is what businesses have. And I really just wanted to be able to have greater impact with my technical knowledge by being able to produce better products, and I guess also understand how businesses can take up the role in development.
Some of the business models at the trade show are more than just an exercise. They're based on actual businesses.
My business is Green Man Acres, so it's a diversified farm on 230 acres in Moncton.
Former Marine Cameron McMahon is hoping to get his diversified farm business going next year. Since his group had to come up with a workable idea for the project, he pitched his business, and they decided to use it as their model.
Forestry and wood products, livestock, market garden and orchard, and hosting weddings and events. And so those are kind of the 4 core areas of the farm that I'm going to be developing.
The teams had to complete a variety of tasks, including developing competitor analysis and market research. Seeing the real numbers that go along with the different ventures he's planning has given McMahon a lot to think about.
Prior to coming into the program, my intention had been to really explore starting the wedding side of the business as kind of the first main focus. The main reason that I've kind of pulled back on that is because there's higher startup costs and more risk involved, potentially much higher revenues with it, but in being able to focus on something that's smaller scale, lower cost in the meantime to actually generate some revenue in the next couple of years makes more sense to me.
It's a new kind of business leader from the heart of Vermont.
So I often hear that, well, what can Vermont do? It's just a small state. And maybe what can UVM do? It's just one university. And so the thing I like to tell everybody is, and it might be a cliche, but it is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. So we all have responsibility to do what we can where we are, no matter how insignificant we think it is. It's not for us to judge whether what we're doing is insignificant. It's for us to take action and see what we can do to make change happen.
Changing the business world for the better, one future leader at a time. At the University of Vermont, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
The Princeton Review has ranked the UVM program first or second in the country for each of the past 6 years. And that's our program for today. Once again, thank you for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.